If you're here, then you probably understand your attachment style really well, but for some reason you're stuck in the same patterns anyway. And if that's true, then I promise you this will be one of the most important things you can learn. You know your triggers. You know where they come from. You've probably learned about emotional regulation, healthy communication, limiting beliefs, and all the other things you're supposed to do. And yet somehow you're still getting triggered. You're still spiraling. You're still sabotaging relationships that you genuinely care about. I know exactly how frustrating that is because I spent nearly 10 years in that exact position. Aware enough to see the pattern, but not free enough to actually stop it. What I eventually discovered was that I wasn't just broken. I was trapped inside of a system. And until I understood that system, the same cycle kept showing up over and over again, no matter how much I understood my attachment style. My name is Aaron Jones, and I became aware of my attachment style when I was 15 years old. It took me nearly 10 years to fully understand and overcome it. And when I finally figured out what was missing, I started using the same framework with hundreds of clients and saw changes that took me years to make happening in just weeks. In the training you're about to see, I'm going to show you exactly why you're still stuck, the system that is actually keeping you there, and how to finally start breaking free from it. I highly encourage you to stay until the end because just watching what I'm about to show you will genuinely save you years of repeating the same patterns in future relationships. So here we go. A few years ago, I was where a lot of you are now. I'd learned everything about my attachment style. I understood important concepts like emotional regulation, like dealing with negative thoughts and how to act more securely. Technically, I should have been secure. I believed I was secure. I even took one of those attachment style quizzes and it told me I was secure. I then met a girl called Angela, and Angela was like my dream girl. She was someone I connected with on every level that you could. And because I had done all this work and believed I was secure, I thought I was ready for a healthy relationship. But then things started happening. For example, a big one that came up for me was we would go to the gym together at her college. And as soon as one of her guy friends would come up to her and hug her, my stomach would just drop. And then my chest would start getting tight. And my head would just start spinning with all these like really uncomfortable thoughts. Like, does she like the guy? Does the guy like her? How long is it going to take for her to realize that this guy is better than me? And I found myself in that gym trying to almost like hide away from her, trying to handle the spiral that I was going through. And I tried to use everything I'd learned. I tried to regulate my emotions. I tried to argue the thoughts away. I sat there thinking, you know, this is just my attachment style. This is just my attachment style. She loves you. You're going to be okay. But even so, and still, I was triggered and it controlled me. And I ended up almost trying to like push it all down and hide it and suppress it and not let it control me. But it did anyway. And then it would end up in the same way that it did every other time and every other relationship I'd been in, which was we would argue, I would accuse her of things, I would be insecure and anxious, I would ask her really clingy and needy questions, and eventually I could start to see that it was pushing her away, just like every other time. And it made no sense to me because I understood my attachment style, yet it was still so intensely controlling me. It literally felt like being a conscious prisoner. I was aware enough to see the pattern, but not free enough to stop it. And I realized that understanding your attachment style on its own was not enough. I needed something deeper. So it got to the point where, you know, she had mentioned it enough times and I could see enough times that it was pushing her away that I actually ended up going to my mom, basically crying and telling her, you know, this jealousy, this attachment style, this fear of abandonment, it was ruining this relationship with someone I genuinely believed I could marry. She ended up contacting a friend of hers who was in a very specific form of coaching. And they worked with specifically beliefs. And I went on a call with this coach and we spoke about what I was dealing with. And he took me through a very deep exercise, an exercise that found the real reason I was feeling this feeling in the first place. Took me to where this feeling was coming from, the original memory or place where this belief, this idea was planted, and then worked very directly with that at its core. And by the end of about an hour, I could feel something had shifted inside of me. For the first time ever in this journey of like my attachment style stuff, I genuinely felt different. And the beautiful thing about it too is I started noticing that whether it was at the gym or whether it was a guy who was trying to help her with her car or her friends hugging her at parties or anything like that, anytime I would have been triggered in the past, the way that that trigger affected me had changed as well. It wasn't as intense. It didn't completely take me over in that moment. So I realized like the biggest thing from that after feeling those real shifts was that I wasn't just broken. I wasn't just stuck and doomed to repeat these patterns forever, that I was trapped inside of a system. So what I'm about to show you is the exact system that kept me stuck for almost 10 years. And when you see it, you'll probably recognize your own relationship patterns immediately. And as you look at the diagram inside of it, see if you can spot the exact moment your own relationship starts to spiral. If you've ever wondered, for example, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep reacting in these ways? Why do I keep going back to this partner? Blah, 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 blah. It's not because you're weak or broken or stupid or whatever. Whatever you're thinking that's negative, it's not that. It's because your nervous system, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, they're all tied together right now in this survival loop. And it's in these survival loops that we sabotage and that we cause negative outcomes and that we sort of reinforce the whole loop again. But we're going to go into that. I'm going to show you how that works, and most importantly, how to start interrupting or breaking that cycle/loop. So this is number one, the trigger or the situation. Now, the situation would be, for example, you and your partner made plans. You made plans to meet up over the weekend or whatever. And on the day of the plans, your partner messages you and says, I can't come. Now, that piece right there, and if you've experienced this, you might even feel that feeling a little bit right now, but that piece right there where it says, and the partner cancels and says, I can't come, that's going to be the trigger piece. Number two, this is going to be, I'll teach it in this way, it'll be the thought. So as soon as the trigger happens, there's going to be a thought. And this is important. Even if it's not conscious to you, even if you're not aware of it, there is always going to be a thought before anything else. In the example I gave, partner canceling plans, it's probably like they're with someone else or they don't care or whatever. And the important part about that is that after there's a negative thought, there's going to be emotions that follow. That's going to be the fear, the panic, the anxiety, the anger, and then the physical sensations along with that would be like tight chest, tense, shaking, sick to the stomach, etc., etc. Now, what happens after that is after we've had the thought and the emotions, these two things combine and things start getting really intense. I like to think of it almost as like a tornado. And when these two things combine, we start to believe that there really is something bad going on, even if there isn't. And we start to perceive that there is an actual threat. As the thought comes and then the emotion comes, we're like, I'm thinking it and I'm feeling it, it must be true.
And then the emotions get more intense and the thoughts get more scary, and then everything starts escalating. We go into what's called fight or flight space, aka our nervous system is dysregulated. We're in this like freak out zone. Even if we're not physically freaking out, internally we are crumbling, and then we are perceiving this threat. So we go into caveman fight or flight, and we either attack, defend, run away, freeze, whatever you want to call it. And this is where the behavior comes in, the action. For example, in the example I gave, partner cancels plans. We're like, I'll keep it simple. Partner cancels plans. The thought is they're with someone else. That's why they cancel plans. The emotion is like fear, betrayal, panic, anger. The behavior is like very obvious one. Oh, what? You're just like with somebody else, or you're with your other girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Whatever type of behavior. Maybe if it's more anxious, it's like, do you not love me anymore? Blah, 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 blah. When we react in that behavior, in that unhealthy, insecure way, what happens then? We have a negative outcome. In this example, for example, because we are now accusing them of something that didn't happen, or we are asking them 10 times if they still love us, or we are just acting insecure in general, that then will naturally push somebody away. But then what happens, because of this negative outcome, and because of our actions that cause the negative outcome, we reinforce beliefs. This is a very important part here, which is, I'm putting it number 7, but I want you to understand that this part here that I'm about to say is actually like the most core thing. It's there before anything else, which is what we've spoken about already, which is those beliefs. And this is very important right here. Because as I said, beliefs are actually the very first thing, because they're like in our core. They are the things we went through and were planted or seeded when we were kids. The beliefs are actually what causes the thoughts in the first place. And this is why it's a cycle. Bringing this to relationships, a recent partner that I dated, she came and spent the night at my apartment. Now, it was her first time in my apartment, and she went into the bathroom. She came out of the bathroom and she was quiet. And she looked upset, but she wasn't saying anything. Now, I've done a lot of work in this space. I've grown a lot myself. So immediately I was like, something's up, right? I can tell when somebody's like not feeling good. I can see it in their face. I can see it in their actions, so on and so forth. So I asked her, what's up? I can see something's wrong. And her immediate reaction was to like deny it, was to put on a tough face, blah, 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 blah. But I know how to like talk to people in that kind of space. So eventually I got her to open up. And basically she was like, Aaron, I went into your bathroom and there was a pink shampoo bottle in your shower. And she said to me, there's only 2 things that could mean. 1, there was somebody in here recently that you were sleeping with. And maybe it was before me. And I shouldn't be upset because like we've just started dating. Like we're not even like dating. We're in that sort of like talking, vibing stage, whatever. So we're not even official. We're not even like exclusive. So I shouldn't be worried, but I'm still feeling some stuff around this. Number 2, you had somebody in here recently or while you're actually with me. And again, technically we're not exclusive, but like I'm still feeling some type of way. Now the funny thing is, I said to her in that moment, actually, there's a third option, which is that this apartment was fully furnished to the weird degree of even the shampoo bottles. When I moved into the apartment, or when I was viewing the apartment, I took a video and I was like videoing everything so I could look at it later. I went into the bathroom, and in that video that I could then show her was the pink shampoo bottle that they had left there for me. And this is really, really important, because of this, because of these damn beliefs, these limiting beliefs that were implanted or seeded in childhood, those beliefs cause the thoughts. Those thoughts cause the emotion. And when these three things combine, they manipulate us. They shift our perception of what is actually happening or going on in reality. This girl was convinced there could only be two options. One, you fucked someone recently. Two, you're fucking someone right now. Didn't even come to her mind that there was a third option, that the place was just fully furnished. These beliefs, these thoughts, and these emotions manipulate and control us to act in these unhealthy behaviors, which cause the negative outcome, which cause a reinforcement of the same beliefs and keep us in the cycle of insecurity.
So, quick side note on that specific thing, but that situation that you saw at the very beginning, that can change. It could be anything. It could be someone not texting you back. It could be your partner's mood changing. It could be you saw them look at another person, whatever. The situation can change. The underlying cycle, thoughts, emotions, behaviors, a negative outcome, beliefs, that doesn't change. And if you saw yourself in that loop, you know how exhausting it is. And you know how it comes up in all different ways in your relationship and in most of your relationships, if not all. I lived in that loop for a decade, but seeing this cycle and realizing this made me realize my brain was just running an old survival script. But if I could rewrite that script at the belief level, specifically for me, the triggers would lose their power and all the other tools I already learned could be easier, would happen almost naturally or with less resistance. But even after I mapped that system out, I had to test it. And the first real test happened for me with that same girl, Angela, on New Year's Eve. Angela came to me one day and told me that her ex friends with benefits, aka somebody she used to sleep with, invited her to his New Year's Eve party. And initially, obviously, I freaked out a little bit. I felt the jealousy. My attachment style was going haywire. I could tell that there wasn't really anything I should be worried about. I knew she was loyal. I knew I could trust her. But I had to get over the internal thoughts and feelings that were telling me otherwise. I used these tools and techniques plus this new deeper belief work around those triggers with Angela, around those triggers with this ex-friends with benefits. A couple weeks later, we are at the New Year's Eve party. And the first thing we do is meet this guy. Now, I got to be honest with you here. Like, I just genuinely didn't like the guy. It wasn't because of like any insecurity or jealousy. I just didn't like him. But I noticed that I didn't feel any, if not all, insecurity or jealousy when I met him. So then the party continues for a bit. I'm hanging out with her friends. I'm trying to enjoy them as well as the party. And Angela walks up to me and she says, Aaron, I'm going to go talk to the guy. I won't say his name, but I'm going to go talk to the guy. We're going to be just outside. It won't be long. I just wanted to let you know we're going to catch up. And almost automatically, I said, okay, I'll see you later. And almost as she was leaving, her one guy friend that I'd been hanging out with turns to me and he says, how are you okay with that? And again, almost automatically, my response was, even if something happens, I know I'll be okay. And I kid you not, his reply was, wow, I wish I could be that secure. And in that moment, like I realized how the whole night, how I had responded, how I wasn't being as triggered, how I was actually acting in a healthy way. And I was filled with this like pride and excitement and just like nothing could take me down right now. About 15 minutes later, Angela comes back and without her saying anything, I kiss her. I tell her I love her for the first time in our relationship. and she's just like stunned because I could see she was waiting for a fight or an argument. And before she even responds, because I'm in such a good state of mind, I just go outside with her friends and enjoy the rest of the night. That New Year's Eve experience proved to me that I had found all the missing pieces, that understanding the prison wasn't enough, that you need all the tools to unlock it. So I want to share that with you. I want to share exactly what you need to focus on, the direction you need to take. So here's a short breakdown of the solution system. And as you watch it, I want you to pay close attention to how the different pieces connect, because this is the exact blueprint to shift from anxious or disorganized to secure.
What I want to share with you now is where the real power starts, which is actually shifting, stopping, breaking the cycle. Just to remind you, that's that cycle or that flow. So here it becomes really important, which is, how do we break this? How do we break this cycle? Now, what I want to say, which is true, is we can break this cycle at any one of these points. And I mean, negative outcome naturally changes to a positive outcome when you change one of these. But basically, if you can learn how to deal with the thoughts, if you can learn how to deal with the emotions, if you can learn healthy behaviors, if you can shift the belief at its core, any one of those points can break this cycle. When it comes to the thoughts, our goal is to dig past or move past those first negative thoughts that we have, understand where they're really coming from, and then find the truth of the situation. Clarity in that sort of tornado of thoughts and thought spirals. So we would do things like reframing thoughts. We would do things like, I like to call it, cognitively argue against the thought. And our goal is to find clarity and clearness and the truth of the situation and experience that we're having. When it comes to the emotion, emotional regulation. So we had mental regulation and also mentally reframing and everything. Emotional regulation. We want to feel more calm, relaxed, etc. in our body and in our emotions. So we get to a place of feeling more calm and centered through our own means. The behaviors, this is very important. Things like healthy communication. There is a healthiest way to communicate. There is a healthiest way to set boundaries. There is a healthiest way to deal with situations. They are all skills. And as you build that skill, you will have more success. You will show up more healthily. You will have better success in your interactions and relationships. And therefore, you'll feel better about yourself and believe better things about yourself. And then the behaviors themselves, we'll go through some belief shifting exercises as well as some inner child work, all designed to basically deal with that belief and the memory that it comes from at its core. The ultimate goal, and this is very important, as we start to better deal with our thoughts, aka argue them properly so that they're not actually coming up as much, or moving away from them so that they just become a normal thought, or not, just at the very least, not falling into that thought spiral. As we are able to calm our emotions and we're able to regulate ourselves and feel more calm even in the middle of the storm, as we learn how to enact healthy behaviors and therefore have more positive outcomes, and as we shift those deeper beliefs at their core, understand them better, see how they're not sabotaging us anymore, etc. These create a new cycle. And instead of insecurity, we start to build confidence. We start to believe we are more capable. Think about how you would feel if you could deal with those thoughts, if you could deal with those emotions, if you could act healthily and confidently. You would believe that you are capable, that you are good enough. You'd probably believe you're fucking awesome, which is true. Because that's exactly how I started to feel as I built these skills, as I learned these things, as I understood myself better, as I enacted healthily. There's no better feeling, maybe there is, but at least to me, there's no better feeling to me than being able to catch myself and handle a situation healthily when it used to completely like control me and run my life. And what I hope you're really taking from that is like, there are steps, there are tools, there are skills that you're going to learn that is going to help you take your power back. That is going to help you feel more calm, in control, able, capable, stable, etc.
So, one thing I want to point out that I hope was obvious is that healing isn't one thing. It's more like a combination lock. You know, those locks you get on like a carrier bag or something like that? There are 4 locks: the thoughts, the emotions, the behaviors, and the beliefs. If 3 of those digits are right, but 1 is missing, the lock will stay shut, just like those bags. So you need all 4 of them to really be able to unlock this and become fully secure. I used what I'd figured out and I kept working on all the parts, all different 4 combination pieces over multiple different situations and triggers, both old ones that I'd been through before and new ones that would come up in my other relationships. And I could genuinely feel myself and see myself changing on every level. Couple of years after that, after Angela, I was in a new relationship and I was sitting on her bed reading a book, and she had just gone for a shower or something like that. And she comes out and I can tell something's off. She's looking nervous and she's kind of like, reserved and everything. And she says, "Aaron, a guy that I used to talk to on Tinder just messaged me and asked to meet." Now, in the past, I would have freaked out. I would have asked her all types of questions, and eventually I would have accused her. We would have had an argument. I would have been convinced she was actually into the guy, etc., etc. But because of the work I had done since Angela, using the proper tools, the framework, all 4 digits, I looked up from my book. I said, "Thank you for telling me." And I went straight back to reading. No trigger, no spiral, nothing. Genuinely nothing. She went back to the other room and continued with whatever she was doing. On the way home, I kind of stopped. I was driving back home. I stopped on the side of the road and I was like, wait, should I have been worried about that? Because I always used to be worried about that. And the first automatic thought that came up in my mind was, even if something were to happen, I know I'll be okay. I'm still going to be good enough no matter what. And that's when I knew I hadn't just learned new tools, but that I had fundamentally become a more secure person. After that, I took everything I learned and understood over the 10 years and eventually created this framework that I started using with coaching clients. And if you remember that combination lock and how I was missing the belief piece, well, it turns out through like coaching a lot of people through this, hundreds, just by the way, a lot of the time people are missing different key pieces. Check this out. Some people miss belief work, like Anthony.
Today was just like liberating and comforting. And I don't know, I don't feel that way anymore. It's just crazy. So I just wanted to say it like yesterday I felt it like so deeply, but today it's just like I don't identify with those beliefs anymore. And it's just crazy. I'm just shocked and still speechless, but I just wanted to share it.
Some people are missing emotional regulation, like Elena.
The main skill which I received. Now I have this gap between my emotions and my behavior. And in this period of time, I can analyze, I can calm down, I can choose what to do.
Some people are missing the cognitive side, so like the thoughts, like fawn.
The biggest gain for me, I'll start right there, is more on the cognitive side of life. My brain is excellent at spinning stories in hyperspeed and being able to pause for a second and just stop those stories. That's really helped me in moments to truly just like pause and not let my brain take over, whether it's I'm getting too excited about a new prospect or I'm trying to run from something just because it got a little scary.
And then lastly, some people are missing the behaviors part of it, healthy behaviors like Leo.
So what I gained in practice is the way I can react to it in a healthy way, because whatever is going on between you and your partner or whomever, if you can actually learn a good way of reacting to it, you will never be able to hold anything against yourself.
Basically, what we started doing, or what I started doing and guiding people through within the coaching, what it basically does is help you identify your specific missing digits and gives you everything you need to fill those in, to have all the different missing pieces so that you can unlock security, that anchor that we spoke about in the beginning. If you're missing the belief digit, you'll most likely constantly look for signs that they're leaving or betraying you. If you're missing the emotional regulation digit, you'll feel a physical burning anxiety in your chest and your stomach, and many other ways. If you're missing the thoughts digit, your mind will constantly spiral and convince you of the worst case outcomes. And if you're missing the behavior digit, you'll act in ways that make you feel guilty and ashamed afterwards. The goal isn't just to manage the cycle forever. The goal is to identify the missing pieces and build the skills that cause the cycle to stop running your life. And when you do, and this I guarantee you, you will have more calm, more clarity, more authenticity, more healthy communication and healthy behaviors in general, more confidence, and ultimately you'll become more secure. And the beautiful part is that it doesn't have to take you 10 years like it did for me. As grateful as I am for having gone through it so I can help others, it does not have to take that long, and it should not take that long. But it does for a lot of people, even with a therapist at times. I've literally coached therapists through this. But when you find the right digits and know exactly what to do with them, change can happen much faster. So I want to show you this. Everything I taught to these people I'm about to show you is 10 years worth of stuff, 10 years worth of realizations, tools, techniques, understanding, shifting, deep internal change that after just a few weeks, this is what they said. What were you struggling with when you first came to me and we started working together?
I just thought I was broken. Like, so what's wrong with me?
Although I had done a lot of therapy, like classical kind of therapy, I still was really struggling with an anxious attachment.
I was constantly scared that something might happen.
I pushed people a lot trying to get the clarity, and I couldn't handle, the moment of uncertainty.
I would create issues and create tension so that we would just fight endlessly, and then I would use that as an excuse to leave.
How would you describe how it was to work with me?
It felt like you were speaking in a way that was like you were like reading my texts and my emails.
It's completely different to talk to you because you've been through it.
It was easier to communicate with you and engaging. I feel like I was feeling in a way safe when I was talking to you.
It felt like I'm working not with a coach, I'm working with a person and with a human.
You were meeting me where I was at, not just basing it off a curriculum and I was going to get what I got because that's what it was.
What would you say you gained through the coaching?
I'm trying to put myself back where I was. It's hard to think like I used to think, which is actually a really cool thing.
Now I have this gap between my emotions and my behavior.
The tools that I need to get through those moments.
I feel a lot more secure about myself now.
To me, like when I look in the mirror, I see me. Like I see the pretty me. the glowing me.
I'm not a passenger on a roller coaster. I'm now operator of this roller coaster. So this amazing description of how I feel.
Awesome analogy. I love that.
Me too.
Awesome. So if you want what you just saw, then click the button below to book a free attachment pattern breakdown call. Together, we're going to map out your specific sabotage cycle, identify the missing digits keeping you stuck, and figure out exactly what needs to change for you to finally start making real progress. Because one of the biggest things I've learned after coaching hundreds of people is that knowing the framework and knowing how it applies to you are two very different things. Most people don't know which digits they're missing. And even when they do, they often don't know the most effective tools, techniques, and ways on working on those specific pieces. The framework is powerful, but the reason people choose to work with me is because implementation is where most people get stuck. Knowing what to do and actually applying it to your own thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and beliefs in many specific situations are very different things. That's exactly what my coaching is designed to help with. So on this call, we'll figure out where your cycle is breaking down, what your missing digits are, and whether my coaching program is the right next step to help you create those changes faster and more effectively. And if it's not, that's completely okay too. You're still going to leave with clarity, direction, and a much deeper understanding of what's actually keeping you stuck. So click the button below and book a free call. And if you're still unsure, you can watch the longer client stories below and see what's actually possible when you start working on the right digits.